We're live. Good afternoon, my friends. Happy to be with you here on the Lamacchia Realty Facebook page. Excited to show you a real estate update, a weekly real estate update. We have lots of good things to go over. There's been some new happenings in the real estate market. Things are getting going. I will admit, not as many home sellers listed in the last week as I expected. It was up, as I said it would be, but I expected a bigger jump, and I'm going to show that to you in a few minutes. I do think there's a good amount of people that are just saying, "Oh, I'm going to wait until after the 18th," and that's okay. But let me tell you, there's going to be a wave like a Pacific Ocean, California wave coming across of homes getting listed, and it's going to get very interesting when that happens. If anyone would like to share this, we would greatly appreciate that you can hit the share button on your Facebook, and it will immediately share this live stream, and you will not be dropped off of the page. So I wanted to mention that. Going to go over a whole bunch of things today. Going to take you back through homes listed, homes pending, showing activity. Going to go over all those kinds of things. Also want to remind the public that we are open for business. We have been the entire time. All of our realtors here at Lamacchia Realty have been open for business the whole time. And they're working so hard and doing such a good job and doing business in a safe manner. All of our realtors have been out with buyers, been out with sellers, in sellers' homes, and really conducting themselves in a very professional and safe manner. And I applaud them for that, and I thank them for that. But I wanted our sellers to hear that, so that you have security to know that, we are being very careful out there. We recognize that real estate never sleeps. No matter what the market, there's always transactions happening, and that's why we're in a business that was deemed essential, and we're in a position where we know that we have to serve our buyers and sellers, and we are here to do that. The good news is it is picking up. There's no question about that. There's more buyers out there. There's more sellers out there. Everybody as a whole is doing more and more. And I'm going to take you through some of the data that I did last week. I'm not going to go as detailed and as lengthy because I did show it last week, and I recognize that there are some new people here this week, but you'll understand it. I'll go over it with you and make it very clear and understandable. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we're seeing in the market. There's some interesting things going on with buyers, with sellers, some concerns that each one of them have. I'd say the most famous concern among buyers is this '08 again? I think I should wait because I heard home prices are going to just completely crash. Well, I'm going to talk to you about that, and I'm going to talk to you about why I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm going to show you an article. Funny enough, last week I talked to you all. I showed the data, and then the day after in the Wall Street Journal, there was an article about how housing prices are rising during the pandemic. And now, of course, I'm trying to find that article so that I can show it to you. And I wish I brought it up on my screen before I started. Let's see if I can find it. But I thought it was funny. I was joking with some folks in the company saying they must have been watching me. Home prices rise. Let's see if I can find the article. If I can't, I can't. But it was definitely in here last Tuesday. Tuesday was the day after I went over things, and I thought I would show that to you all now that I have my fancy screens that I can share. But we're going to go over a whole bunch of things, and I'm going to make it so that by the end of this, you're going to clearly see that the market is getting busy again. And I'm not using the word recover or recovering. And the reason I'm not is many people misunderstand that word or misunderstand what's going on in the real estate market, and they get it mixed up, and they actually think that, like, if I say the word recovery, people interpret that as the market was hurting. No, the market's not. The market slowed down. Real estate activity slowed down. That's understandable for it to slow down. There's a very unusual set of circumstances here where, it's not a normal economic downfall. Everything about it is unusual. It's happened all of a sudden, literally came out of nowhere and happened all of a sudden. And because of the virus, dramatically less people are looking to, are holding off on listing their homes. It's much better. It's better than it was a month ago. People are listing their homes now, but there's still people holding back. And I'll tell you something, I actually believe that there will be a percentage of sellers. I think if I had to guess, and I have no data to know this, but I'm willing to bet at least 10% less homes get listed this year than last year, the year before. At least 10% less. Well, every year there's like 140 or 150 some odd thousand homes get listed in Massachusetts, roughly. Well, over the last 3 or 4 years, as they're listed, they're getting eaten up. All the homes are getting eaten up. All the homes that are for sale are selling. And I think this year we're going to see some people that just put it off for a whole year. Well, because of that, that's going to be the good part of low inventory, because it's going to save us. And remember, for home prices to crash, the supply of homes has to go up high. It has to be so, because it's a supply and demand business, okay? When there's more supply and low demand, home prices come down. When there's high demand and low supply, like we've been dealing with for about 4 years, there's been pockets of it easing up, but it's basically been how it's been for 4 years. Okay, high demand, low supply, you can't have prices fall. It's not possible. There's not enough on the market. And that's what that article in the Wall Street Journal talked about last week. And I'm a little frustrated that I can't find it right now, but I'm of course distracted having to talk, and I don't have time to find it. But I meant to find it, and if you Google it, you will find that Wall Street Journal article that cited a Zillow economist who said the problem is there's not enough people listing their home, and because of the virus, dramatically less are listing their home. So wanted to mention that for a couple minutes. Also want to, I want to remind everyone that you absolutely positively can list your home in a safe manner. Okay, I want to make sure everyone knows that. I've talked to a lot of our realtors over the last week who have told me that many of their sellers have felt great comfort after looking at our page on safehomeshowing.com. And that actually prompted me to make a change today, because that blog was originally put out about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it was talking to realtors. It was on our realtor website. We have a realtor website, crushitandre.com, where we give realtor advice and all kinds of things. And we had put it there because it was built for realtors. Well, today we put out a blog on the same topic. Many of the same images that we included in the other blog, we included in this blog, and we decided to put it on lamacchiarealty.com. Frankly, because we want consumers going to Lamacchia Realty. And if you go to lamacchiarealty.com, and if you go to the blog section, you will see this blog that was just posted like a half an hour ago. And if you log on to it, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to show you what I'm logging on to. If you know what, I can jump off and I can actually show you that. Thank you, Lindsay. You already posted it, safehomeshowing.com. If I go in here and I put in safehomeshowing.com, watch what happens. It pulls it up, and it now pulls it up on the Lamacchia Realty website. I did this on purpose because we realized there was more buyers and sellers logging onto it now than there were realtors. Earlier last month, it was different. So if for you realtor friends that are watching, this does still exist over on the Crush It and RE website, and that one talks more to realtors. This one talks buyers and sellers. It gives 6 tips to buyers, 6 tips to sellers, okay? And then you can see, like, the infographic, for example, comes right up, and it gives all kinds of tips on how you can safely show a home, safely see a home. And it has all kinds of recommendations in there. The obvious, confirming that no one has COVID or symptoms of it. If you could do a showing block, that's a smart thing to do, so that you bring people in one after the other, as opposed to at all different times over several days. All parties should wear a cloth face covering, asking the seller to leave the doors open that they want to leave open, and that sort of thing. This goes through everything right here in this infographic. And then we even shared our signs, because we want you buyers, we want you sellers to see the signage that we're using. Okay, so this is something that gets posted outside the home. If there's a group of people showing up at the same time, we don't want anyone to just enter on their own, because we want them to come through in a controlled manner. And it's very important that realtors take control when they're bringing people through the home. And I had mentioned that before, and I wanted to make sure to explain that to you all, so that you could see it and know that, oh, look at this. My assistant, isn't she wonderful? just sent me the exact article that I was mentioning. Thank you, Lauren. Why home prices are rising during the pandemic. So this is the Wall Street Journal. Barron's actually did an article over the weekend on the same topic. But if you read this article in the Wall Street Journal, for all our buyers that are watching, I want you to read this article. We could get this article for you. Obviously, Wall Street Journal is subscription only. I have a subscription, so you know what we'll do. We'll PDF this article. We'll send it out to all of our agents, and they can get it out to you. If you would like this Wall Street Journal article sent to you, if you are a buyer, a seller, a realtor, I don't care who it is, go ahead and post your email address in the comments here, and we will send you this article so that you can read it on your own, because I recognize that when people watch me, they think I'm explaining it for selfish reasons, though I'm not. I'm just telling you the facts about the market. But this talks about everything I was saying, not exactly word for word, but they talk about how the amount of homes for sale, look at this, total listings of homes for sale, meanwhile, have hit a 5-year low, while the median listing price was up 1% from last year at 308. That was a Redfin expert, so another brokerage talking about that. So we will PDF this and we will send this out to you all, but I thought it was important to mention it because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of people, and you know what? It's understandable. In a buyer's defense, I mean, here's the deal. You look back in history, when the economy slows down, housing slows down, okay? And is housing slower right now? Yes. I should have phrased that differently. When housing has a down, like when the economy goes down, stock market and everything else, housing usually follows it or has some type of impact. Now, do I think there's going to be an impact? Yes, of course. The market has slowed down dramatically, and I'm going to show you that. But will prices fall? When I hear people say housing is going to crash, I assume that they mean prices are going to crash. And that's what the difference is here. And this article explains it all. I'm going to send it to you. We could even send the Barron's article. So if you would like to see it, please just put your email address into the comments and we will absolutely send it to you. I see a lot of realtors putting their email addresses. We'll absolutely send it to our realtor friends. We'll also send it to buyers and sellers and whoever else, because we want to make sure to get this out there. And that way you hear an opinion from someone other than me, although I'm doing my best to keep you guys updated every week. Here's what it comes down to. Real estate never sleeps, no matter what. No matter what. September, August 2008, banks were going bankrupt every day. There was actually a website that had like a ticker, and it was posting the names of banks as they were going bankrupt. And guess what? We were still selling homes, still buyers and sellers, still buying and selling. It never sleeps. It slows down. The market can get hurt. Pricing can get impacted, but it's always happening. There are people who have to buy and sell. I was talking to one of our realtors this morning who had a seller client who's on oxygen, older gentleman, and he said to our agent, look, I have to list for XYZ reasons. I need to sell this home. Well, there are lots of I need to buy and I need to sells out there, and I need to rent an apartment and I need to get this apartment rented. I was at my own aunt's house over the weekend, and we did some work in her unit in the winter, our property management company, and I went over to check it out. And when I was leaving, she says, hey, I'm getting tired of waiting around. Why don't we get this thing up for rent? You see that? Classic example of consumer behavior. Consumers have been very, very patient. And I think they're getting to the point that they're tired of being patient. I think we all are getting tired of being patient, right? It's dragged on a while, but we're getting there. I mean, here in Massachusetts, we're a week from today, we get somewhat let out of jail, right? They said, oh, it's not a light switch. Things are going to happen in phases. Well, that's okay. At least we're headed in the right direction. A couple other things that we're seeing out there that I want buyers and sellers to be aware of is the showing to offer ratio has dramatically improved. I mean, normally this time of year, you put a home on the market in Massachusetts, there's like 70 buyers coming over to see it, for a typical home, a typical $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 home, not a $2 million home. But now instead of 70 buyers, you're getting 8 buyers and 5 are making offers, or you're getting 4 buyers and 2 are making offers. The showing to offer ratio is much improved. And if you're a seller, you should be excited to hear that. Now you're going to just get the serious people over. But I want to give you a tip, sellers, something to be aware of. Don't hold it against your realtor, whether you're listed with us or you're listed with another brokerage, right? Don't hold it against them if there's not as much action on your home. I mean, this is the buyers that are out now are the very serious buyers. The sellers that are out are the serious sellers. I do think that it's improved in the last few weeks. There's more people that are, wanting to sell but not having to sell listing. Whereas a month ago, if someone was listing, they were like, they had to sell right away. I think that that's improving, but there's still less people and buyers aren't wasting time. We're also seeing situations where sellers and or listing agents are requiring people to be pre-approved before they can go in and see the home. That's not unreasonable to ask. It's really not. And if you're a buyer and you want to see a property and they tell you, hey, you need to have a pre-approval, don't get all mad about it. Don't get stressed out. Get a pre-approval. Frankly, you should have a pre-approval before you go see homes anyway. So that request of theirs is not unreasonable. Now, I am not making a blanket statement and acting like our realtors are doing that. I'm telling you what's going on in the market. Remember, real estate brokerages, everybody operates independently. They're independent contractors. So we have some agents that are requiring that on their listings, and we have some that are not. And that's okay. It's between them and their home sellers. But definitely don't get offended or get mad if a realtor tells you, hey, you know what, to see that home, you need a pre-approval. Well, take their direction, take their recommendation, get connected with their mortgage broker, and go get a pre-approval. It'd be good for you to do anyway. You want to know what you can afford. You want to know what your monthly payment's going to be. And that research should be done in advance. That's a good thing. So embrace it. Also want to mention that some agencies, many agencies, seem to be jumping on what I call the form bandwagon. I haven't jumped on it yet. That could change. But from what I've seen, I don't think it's necessary. But a lot of brokerages are now requiring buyers and or buyers agents to sign a form, fill out a form before they're allowed to get in and see a home. I've discussed this as recent as this morning with our law firm, and I just don't feel that it's necessary. People are well aware of what's going on with COVID-19. I think the public as a whole is taking it extremely seriously. Everybody's got masks on. People know what's going on. I would like to think that someone will have the decency to not go see a home if they have symptoms of COVID-19. I would like to think that a seller wouldn't list their home if they had symptoms of COVID-19. Now, I might sound naive. Maybe I do a little bit. But I think that communication between buyers, sellers, and realtors is good. And we just need to be talking with one another and letting one another know. I'm really not interested in having our realtors at Lamacchia insisting on them using a form. But we do have protocols in place. One of the things is on our listings, we've made a decision as a company and our realtors have gone along with it. If you want to come see one of our listings, you do need to be wearing a mask. It's a necessity. You need to wear a mask. And last I checked, all our realtors are doing that. Again, everyone works independently. There might be some exceptions to the rule with vacant properties or things like that. But by and large, our realtors are following the guidance from safehomeshowing.com. They're doing that. And that, has been really followed across the nation. I mean, we had a lot of realtor friends around the country, other folks that take advantage of our training that are using that all throughout their company. And I just want to make sure everyone's aware of it. Safehomeshowing.com. As I explained 10 minutes ago, that now goes to our Lamacchia Realty website. And if you read it right in there, then the first paragraph, it says the original blog was put out on the Crush It in Our East website. If you'd like to see the version for realtors, click here. But the version for buyers and sellers is on the Lamacchia Realty page website. And we are sharing all of the images and signage and things that we use as a company right there on that blog so that buyers and sellers can easily access it. Tenants, landlords, property management customers, whoever it may be. So the last thing I want to say as far as things we're seeing in the field is let's not get grumpy. Let's work together. I did hear a couple stories. I mentioned this last week. I heard a couple more in the last week of buyers or buyers agents in particular saying, if your seller requires us to wear a mask, we're not coming to see the home. Well, you know what? I don't think that's very nice. So if you're a seller and you're listening, I think that you should embrace the face coverings. If you're a buyer and you're listening, more importantly on this topic, I'm talking to you, just abide by it. Okay, people, imagine being a home seller in such an environment. I mean, yesterday I watched Coronavirus Explained on Netflix. It was 30 minutes. And I'm watching it thinking to myself, I can't believe we are experiencing a once in a century or once in every 2 century event right now. My daughter said to me that at her school, on Zoom, they were saying that history books, a history lesson is what we're going through is going to be a history lesson someday. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So buyers should not be getting grumpy if they're asked to simply wear a cloth face covering at a showing. They shouldn't be. And I think that, as I said a month ago, 6 weeks ago, buyers and sellers need to be working together, communicating. Okay, I talked a lot a month or 6 weeks ago about extensions. If you're a buyer and a seller says to you, hey, you know what? We're not comfortable signing the purchase and sale now, we might get laid off, or vice versa if that happens to a buyer. Yeah, let's not crucify each other. Okay, if a buyer needs another week to sort out their finances because maybe their job changed, sellers and listing agents to say, all right, be nice. Obviously, don't let them take advantage, but if they need 4 or 5 days to sort something up, generally speaking, my recommendation is work together, help one another. We're all in this situation together. Okay, so I think that that's super important. But I just wanted to talk about those few things that we're seeing in the field so that everyone would be, generally aware of what's going on. Now, what I want to do is I want to get into my real estate, market update with you. And as you all know, we created this page right here, Massachusetts Real Estate Updates. So the web address is marealestateupdates.com. That's marealestateupdates.com. And guess what New Hampshire is? nhrealestateupdates.com. So when you go on here, now you're going to be able to see data that is updated in the middle of the day every single Monday, on purpose on Monday. And then on Monday afternoons, what I'm doing is going over it with you as I'm doing now. So I'm going to take you through this and talk about some of the data, show you where things happened that I expected, and maybe some things that I wasn't quite expecting as fast or slower or whatever that may be. So you know what I'll do? I'll take me off the screen for a couple minutes. And if you look at this, I want you to see that last week, 1,864 homes were listed compared to 1,600 and change the week before, 1,312, back into that valley in early April. So you can see here that we are continuing to increase as I had predicted. I knew it would keep going up. I'll be honest though, I expected a larger increase. I did. I was expecting that number to be closer to 2,000. I'm willing to bet that next week we're well over 2,000, probably 23, 24, 25, 2,600 next week. Write it down. Call me on it if I'm wrong. But I bet next week that is what we will see. And then if I scroll down here, you'll see the showing information. Now, remember last week I had said that we are going to overcompensate in some things. What you're going to see, and actually I can go back up here for a minute, but what you're going to see is this amount of homes. Next week, as I said, it'll be like 2,500 because this is per week. The week after will probably shoot up here. I'm telling you, especially where this week, when I say this week, the past week didn't turn out to be as big as I thought. I do think there's some, good amount of people waiting till after the 18th. When we get past the 18th and in the weeks to come, that is when that tsunami, that massive wave of properties is going to come. You're going to see some overcompensating. I bet this listed per week number is going to go up here at least for a few weeks. And then you look at showings, showing follows behind it. So 2020 is obviously in orange. Just as listings slowed down, showing slowed down. And then remember last week when I said, I'm willing to bet that we will go over last year's levels because we're going to have to overcompensate. Well, that happened already. And truthfully, it surprised me that it happened that quickly because we're not quite at the point of having the same amount of listings getting listed. So that surprised me a little, but it shows the buyer demand that is out there is massive. And next week, you will see this higher. We'll adjust it so we can fit it in and know that that's higher. That data that's actually realtor data straight from showing time. And then you go over here. This is the amount of homes for sale every Saturday, going back to the beginning of the year to date, compared to the prior 3 years. And look at this. We're pretty steady. 11,300. I checked at noontime. We were at like 11,158 homes. We were stuck for weeks around high 10,000s. Now we seem to be stuck low 11,000s. I'm willing to bet you next week it's a little higher, 11.5, 11.8 maybe, not a ton higher. The next week, in 2 weeks, you'll see it maybe 12 or 13. That's when it'll start climbing. But guys, look at this. Look at this, all right? We should be up here, 15, 16,000 homes for sale. Instead, we're down here at 11, okay? But I want the people who think that real estate isn't happening to think about that. Look at this. 1,800 people listed their home last week. tons of showings. Okay, we're way above the annual. This is the first week of the year average, and it goes above. So it is happening. It's just the activity is slower, but it's recovering. Now you look at homes pending, same exact thing. Homes pending is doing a good job keeping up, 1,728. So think about that. 1,864 homes listed, 1,728 pending. Okay, what is that? 132, I think, 136 maybe. So of properties, when I say that, I mean the amount listed to pending. Okay, we're 136 short of staying even. Well, I saw Paul say gobble gobble. Okay, the Pac-Man effect. As properties are getting listed, they're getting eaten up, and that's normal for this time of year. It's a little exacerbated right now because there's less being listed. Then I go down, homes sold. We're in the middle of the month now, so there's less homes sold. That happens every month. Not as important of a metric. Now, this one's interesting. The amount of homes, the percentage of homes that went under contract in a week. So I can take you in for a closer zoom on that. And if you see it, you'll see that we're over 15% again. So if you compare to last year at this time, we're almost in line with last year as far as the percentage of homes that are going under contract in a given week. That's a metric we've been tracking for 10 years. And look at the beginning of the year. We were flying. We were way ahead of the years prior. The demand in the market, the speed of the market was tremendous. And then it fell, right? Buyers pulled back. Sellers pulled back. It all slowed down. Now we're recovering. Next week, this will be higher, probably closer to 20%. I don't think it'll be quite 20, but it'll be higher. Homes sold, we don't have the final data for April yet, but the average sale price in April will be similar to that of the prior months. And that's what's frustrating, because remember what I told you, come end of May, when they report homes sold in April, it'll be headline news. Home sales down 40%. Home sales down 50%. They're going to do all they can. Now, check this out. On that subject, I had already showed you this last week. I had showed you the difference in March 19 to March 20. Now, look what we did. We added May 1st to May 10th. Homes listed, homes pending, homes sold. I would not get as caught up in the homes sold. There's a little, that is somewhat of a telling indicator, but it does make sense that it's lower because activity slowed down in late March and in April, but don't go crazy over that one yet. These are the indicators on what's to come. How many homes listed, okay, and how many homes pending? Well, look at this. Last month, homes listed down 51%, homes pending down 48%, homes listed down 50% in May, homes pending down 40% in May. So it's easing up a little bit. The activity is increasing, and that's what we expect. Okay, that's what we've expected to see here. Frankly, the only one that surprised me this week, again, I'll say, is if I go up to the homes listed. I expected this, and Mother's Day likely had an impact. We had a realtor friend who said this last week on Monday, said, hey, Mother's Day has an impact. A lot of people want to list after it. I tend to agree, but I'll tell you now, the amount of homes listed this week will definitely go over 2,000. There's no doubt in my mind. The amount of homes pending will definitely go over 2,000. And then the weeks after is when it's going to start to get crazy because we'll be past that deadline. So that's Massachusetts. If I jump you over to New Hampshire, same thing. New Hampshire's up 538 homes listed compared to 490 the week before. The showings are pulling even further ahead, the showing activity. And then homes pending in New Hampshire up again. As I said, homes sold isn't as much of a big deal right now. But hopefully that gives people a better understanding of what's going on in the market, how the data, how the amount of homes that are getting listed is flowing, how the amount of homes that are pending is flowing. And this is how the market's going to come back. Okay, the activity in the market is going to come back. And as I said before, you're going to see an overcorrection now. The problem is when the news comes out in late May, okay, when the news comes out, it will be all negative news. And I want to tell you all something, and I won't mention the newspaper. I won't do that to my reporter friend. But I pitched a story 2 weeks ago to a reporter, and I said, you should do a story on how The home sold data in late May does not necessarily say what's going to happen because that is activity. That is not pricing. They came back and said their editor said no. And I said, yeah, the editor said no because they only want bad news. If I pitched them on a bad news, the market's crashing story, you guys would have been all over it. And the reporter said, you're probably right. And that was the end of the conversation. I'm not saying who it was, but it was a very large newspaper, very well known. And it was frustrating to me because I said, let's get out ahead of it. Let's clarify the record. Let's make it clear. They didn't bite the hook. So guess what, realtor friends? For those of you that are watching, we have to be the ones to educate the public because we know that the media is not going to do that. The media is going to do what they do and talk up negativity as much as possible to sell newspapers and have, headlines that draw people in. So I'm going to take questions in about 2 minutes. What I want to do now is just a little bit of a recap on a few different things, and then I'll go over some questions and do a Q&A for 10, 15 minutes, whatever you guys would like. So as I said, the Lamacchia Realty offices will be opening in a week in a limited capacity. We obviously can't have, if you're a buyer or seller watching, don't be offended. We're not going to have outsiders, even going to have our agents in the office yet. We're going to start with staff because staff is a necessity to serve our realtors, serve our buyers, serve our sellers, tenants, landlords, property management customers. And then in a couple of weeks after, we'll get to agents. Couple of weeks after, we'll get to clients. We already have a very specific, I think, well-written document on exactly how we're going to reopen the offices. But the fact is, we have not been closed for business for even a minute. Okay, our realtors have been serving people every day of every week, and I want you all to hear that. As I said, real estate never sleeps. No matter what the market, it never happens. Inventory is flat, as I just showed you, because the amount of homes getting listed is getting eaten up almost the same amount by the amount of homes pending, and that's what you're going to see. As I mentioned, home buyers, don't be offended if you run into a situation where a seller wants you to wear a cloth face covering in their home. I don't think that's unreasonable. That is a mandate from our state, from our governor here in Massachusetts, and a recommendation of the CDC. So I think that everyone ought to be following it. So let's jump into some questions. Oh, I can mention that one more time. For those of you that would like a PDF version of the Wall Street Journal article and the Barron's article, we'll send you both at once. Please leave I can show the article one more time. Please leave your email in the comments and we will send it to you. But if you see this came out last Tuesday, and it was funny because I said, I said that yesterday. But while buyer demand has softened and sales fell 8.5% in March, the supply of homes in the market is contracting even faster. That is simply because of the virus. If it wasn't for the virus, we may if it wasn't for the virus, we wouldn't be in the economic situation that we are in. But my point is, if we were having an economic downfall right now, under normal circumstances, of course, I would stand here and I would say, yeah, I think home prices are going to get hit. I don't know how much, but I think they will. The reason I'm not predicting that is there's a lack of supply, and I think there'll be a lack of supply for the whole entire year. So we can get that article to you if you would like. Now what I'm going to do is read some questions, get you all some answers on different things. And I know that Lindsay somehow sent me a message. I just saw a question come through. Go ahead and post your questions, and I will read them out loud and get back to you and answer you right here on the spot. I know there was a question in here somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe everyone's going easy on me today. Why can't I find? Here we go. Christy May. I believe people are moving from the cities to the suburbs. Christy, that's a good question. It's come up since day one, since this started. And I don't think that'll happen. Now, if this turned into the next 5 years, which it's not, but if it did, then I'd say people might change where they live. I do not see people changing where they live because of this. Americans have wildly short memories. Okay, look back in history. Look at wars. Look at various catastrophes, hurricanes, tornadoes. It's pretty quick that Americans forget and move on. We're an impatient society. We're a go-getting society, thankfully. So I think that that's why you'll see most Americans continue to live where they want to live. I live right outside of Boston, right outside. I'm not moving because of this. Even if it turned into 5 years, I wouldn't be moving. All right, Edward. Based on the fact that home prices have increased substantially since 2019, what would you consider to be a reasonable and healthy rate of appreciation per year? 5%, 7%, or 10%. I think 4 to 5% is a reasonable rate of appreciation. We have seen higher rates of appreciation, Edward, over the last 7 years. This year, I don't think we will. I do not think we're going to see prices go up 5, 10% this year because of what's going on. So even though I'm saying there's not going to be a crash, I am saying I don't think we're going to see massive appreciation. I wouldn't even be shocked if home prices went down a point or two by the time we're done looking at the whole year. And then next year we would make up for that and then some. So I'm clearly not predicting a housing crash, but I also don't see the same appreciation that we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years, even with less inventory. I don't see it happening. Alice Ward, if you're not in a rush, but still are serious about buying, do you recommend waiting a few more months? No, I think it's house specific. I mean, look, I say it every year, and I think sometimes people take it out of context. I had a friend of mine say to one of our realtors, a good friend of mine, well, Anthony said the market's going to crash in the fall. No, I didn't say that. There's always more inventory in the fall. You know what? I'm going to show you guys something important. Give me a minute to see if I can pull it up. I'm going to go into a blog that we always do, and we show why listing in the winter, listing in the fall, listing in the winter, listing in the early spring will get you more money. The reason I say that is inventory always peaks in the fall. So when there's more to choose from, it's a better time generally to be a buyer. But what are you going to do? If you're looking for homes right now, you see the home you want. I'm not going to buy that because Anthony Lamacchia said fall's better. Well, nobody's going to do that, and I wouldn't do it either. I mean, if you see the home that you like, buy it. Make a shot at buying it. But if you don't get it, or if a multiple offer situation gets you knocked out, because by the way, there have been a ton of multiple offer situations. I'm going to show you guys a Facebook post in a minute. Then don't worry, because more homes will come out. All right, check this out. I'm going to show you guys this screen. This is a blog we put out every year about how a buyer's and seller's market works. Okay, if you see this, every year in the fall months, that's when inventory is at its highest. That's normal. That's why I say, generally speaking, if you're a buyer, the better time of the year to buy is in the fall. But again, if you see a home you love, what are you going to not buy it? And then nobody's going to do that. Interest rates are extremely low right now. There's lots of properties. Well, not yet. There's going to be lots of properties, a massive wave of properties getting listed in the weeks to come. You can't not take advantage of that. But generally speaking, the way that the market flows every year, I'll show you this thing here. See, this says quantity of buyers, quantity of sellers. Okay. There's always less sellers than buyers in the winter, and then it usually evens out in the summer. And then by fall, it's a little bit more of a buyer's market, okay? This year, I don't expect that equilibrium evening period to happen until the fall. The reason is our whole year is getting pushed out. So that graphic, we will have to change when we do our normal blog about, don't worry, buyers, we're not going to, the market's not going to be like this forever with multiple offers. So under a normal year in the summer is when we start to see that equilibrium between buyers and sellers. You will not see that in the summer this year. This is going to be the busiest real estate summer ever in history. I guarantee it. So if you take this is going to be more in the fall. That's all I meant. I hope I answered your question. That was quite a rant after your simple question. What do you consider to be good interest rate for someone with a solid paycheck and credit score? I mean, any rate between 3 and 4% is just tremendous. I talk to people who bought homes in the early 80s, late 70s, 19, 20, 21%. I mean, 3% interest is literally almost free money. I mean, how can you complain about being able to buy with so little, having paid so little interest? It's fascinating. Liz is one of our great realtors. She said so many multiple offer situations. Some only on the market for days, even without showings. You know what, Liz? Remember that post that I did? So I'm going to tell everyone, I showed you this last week, but I'm going to show you again because there are a lot of people that doubt this. And it amazes me that they doubt this. So I'm going to go onto my own personal Facebook page, and I'm going to scroll down until I find the post that I put up last Monday when I said, if you've been involved in a multiple offer situation, as a realtor, tune in. I'm sorry, comment below is what I meant to say. I was just reading. And you should see all the comments. I'm going to share this with you. Ready, set, go. This is my Facebook, 125 comments. This is last Monday. Realtors, if you have been involved in a multiple offer situation in the last 2 weeks, say yes below. You can see people are still commenting. Great realtor on the South Shore and a dear friend, Dakota Riley. Yes, 2 listings went on and received multiple offers within 72 hours. Clear bet. Yes. Joe DiStefano was one of 14 offers the other day. Yes, 6 offers on 1 listing. It goes on and on and on. I could show you. These are all realtor comments talking about multiple offer situations. So the buyers that think that's not happening, you're mistaken. You're being misinformed. And what you're probably doing, and I want to say it again, when someone says to me, well, Anthony, how could housing not go down if the whole economy is going down? Under normal circumstances, I would agree. And I'll even go further. Let me take it a step further, okay? If the virus wears off in the next 6 months, hopefully it wears off even faster, but the economy gets worse and worse and worse, which I don't think will happen. But if it happens over the next year, will housing take a hit? Yes, it will. It's impossible not to under those circumstances. But the lurking virus being out there is stopping sellers from listing, leaving no slack in the line for excessive inventory, and making it so that home prices can't go down. I hope that makes sense, because that's the truth and that's how it's working. So let's see here. Talia, nice name. Do you expect interest rates to jump once the COVID vaccine comes out and the economy becomes more active? Not immediately. I think that rates will be here probably for the rest of the year, but I don't expect them to go up immediately. I think the Federal Reserve, you got to remember, the short-term lending rate that you hear in the news is not the same thing as mortgage rates, but they buy mortgage-backed securities to free up the market and enable rates to come down. I think they're going to do all they can to keep these rates down for a while. Not forever, but for a while. So I think we're going to be safe there. Look at this. Ann's a great realtor friend. Ann said she's in a multiple offer situation right now, 21 offers in Medford. So there's more. Look at this. Donna DeRusso. I was one of 17 offers in Stoughton, lost out to an all-cash offer. I believe Donna is a realtor. But that's how the market works, okay? It's all about supply and demand. So if the fear of the virus wears off over the next 6 months and the economy starts picking up over the next 6 months, as I expect, because remember, there's also a lot of pent-up demand out there. And I want to say something else about, now I'm getting all hot and fired up. I want to say something else about the unemployment rate. I keep hearing, well, unemployment rate, highest level since the Great Depression. It's going to match the Great Depression. Okay. My good friend, Jerry Bourgeois, he's a realtor. Knowing him, he's probably watching. He's a data junkie as much as I am. He pointed something out that he and I worked together and confirmed. This is the first time in history that 1099 independent contractors can collect unemployment. Therefore, it's the first time in history that 1099 independent contractors, i.e. the gig economy, is being tracked and being included in the unemployment rate. So that is exaggerating it a bit. There's no denying a lot of people have lost their jobs. It's terrible, you know, to see so many people furloughed, laid off. I mean, these things happen. But I think we're going to come out of it quite well. There's also an abundance of pent up demand out there. I talked to 2 people and a pool company myself, because at some point we want to put a pool in our home. They all said pool companies can't even get to people's homes until the end of August or September because so many people have booked to have pools installed. Well, That shows that there's money out there. People know that they can't go on vacation at all this year or in the same fashion or same places that they were hoping. So they're putting pools in. That shows that there's money out there. Think of all the money that you would normally spend on going out to eat and doing things with friends. It's not being spent. People's credit card bills are lower than they've been, most cases. That's why, look at companies. Our company, we're not spending 10% of what we were spending on meals and entertainment. Not 10% of it. So when we get let back out of jail, we're going to do all we can to get these things going again. And that's why I feel like the economy is going to recover pretty darn quickly. Let's see. Any other questions? Okay, Alice, how much do you recommend putting down as a deposit apart from a $1,000 escrow check? Can you explain how that is considered skin in the game by sellers? Yeah, that's understandable. Okay, so a seller wants to have security to know that the buyer's real, and that if the buyer bails for a reason outside of what's allowed in the contract, the seller has some money to keep. So that's why sellers and listing agents always want higher deposits, and buyers often don't want to put high deposits, not often, but depending on the situation, because they don't want to kiss their money goodbye. They don't want to lose their money. Okay, so it's normal for buyers to put down $1,000 at offer, and then anywhere between 3 and 5% at purchase and sale. Depending on your loan, if you're doing a 20% down loan, then at closing you'd owe the other 15 or 17% or whatever it may be. If you're doing something like a VA loan, then you might get that deposit back at closing. But at least it shows the seller that you have some security on it, and that they have some security. They feel like you're a real buyer, a buyer that can afford it, etc. There's Jerry right there. Hello, Jerry. Chrissy, another great realtor, President's Club realtor in our company. People are definitely relocating their vacation money on home improvements. Yeah, Chrissy, I'm seeing the same thing, and I'm seeing signs of it. So, all right, my friends, I hope that answers all your questions. I hope that that's a good update for you. Next week will be the time that we're starting to get out of jail, and I'm excited for it. I look forward to seeing you then. Same time, same place. I'll see you then. Make it a great week, everyone. Submit your questions to us anytime. If you submit a subject or you submit a question, we just might go over it at one of these weekly updates. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.